Good morning. Welcome to the Building Committee meeting of September 14th. I'm sorry we're a little late getting started, but we had a problem getting a quorum. Let me start out by our usual, which is to look at the minutes, and if there are any questions or changes on the minutes, please let me know. Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? That would be from Katie. Thank you. Do I have a second? Nobody?
Sure.
Okay, Rusty, thank you. All in favor, just indicate by either raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any abstentions or any nays? Motion carried. George, would you take us through the pay application number 32?
Okay, yes, for the month of August, we're billing $1,256,322. That includes the final cleaning that was from Horizons, metal fabrications. That was all the exterior, interior handrails. That work's complete. You do see a balance to finish of 35,000. That's actually that's going to be the lion's share of that is the credit, because we did take a credit for the the stainless steel guardrails by the generator and the pump. So you'll see that. I haven't processed the PCO, so that's kind of what that balance is. General trades, well, the architectural woodwork, all the cabinets and stuff is complete. General trades, that's the doors, hardware, the gymnasium floor, all the gym equipment, and all that's complete. Just pretty much working on punch list items, and then you'll see a balance to finish. The lion's share of these balance to finishes are either change orders that were processed that the trade hasn't billed yet, so you'll see a balance to finish, or we have allowances and things like that we haven't reconciled yet. So those numbers are going to show on the balance to complete, and then there are some that have some finished, just a couple items that weren't complete in August but kind of complete now. So that's kind of what you see in that column H. So roofing, they didn't bill this. Sprayed applied fireproofing, they're just finished up, closing out. Acousticals, the ceilings and all that's complete. Painting, same thing, just the painting. Food service equipment, so all the food service equipment is set and being used. Playground equipment, playground has been for both the ELP and the K through 12. That's complete. Window treatments, this the shades for the windows. Electrical, that's the outlets, powering all the equipment and all that work. Communications is the data and technology. Site work, the paving, the fencing, chain link fencing, the guardrails. That's pretty near complete. Same with the landscaping is complete as far as the trees, the sodding and all of that. So that's the trades. And then with our fees, general conditions and all that, it's a gross of 1,239,120. And then the net is 1,256,322, adjusting for retainages. So right now we're working on the punch list. And then I'm going through with all the trades, and as far as outstanding PCOs and allowances and all of that, which I'm doing right now. So if there's any questions.
George, if we were looking at column H and identify things that actually haven't been done as against invoices that haven't been presented or whatever. The only significant one is what? Or is there any significant, maybe plumbing or electrical?
I don't think there's not a significant, like with the HVAC stuff, the stuff that's that needs is commissioning.
Yeah.
The like site work where there's some gates and stuff that need to be installed. So what I did in the monthly report, which we can get to next, under the project commentary, I kind of put by trade, what work's been completed and then what work has been is done as far as remaining work, and then if the punch list is. So I went down with all the trades. So for instance,
right.
like site work, you got some fencing and guardrail, and then the punch list work. So
we'll touch about we'll then
right,
focus on that when you do the.
but that, so that's how you can kind of find out what work is left, and then what and who has the punch list left, and all of that, and then it should kind of correspond to the balance to finish column.
Okay, well I didn't mean to get ahead of ourselves. If you got it, that's right. You've got it all listed in the progress report. Yes. So, are there any questions about the payment application that's being presented this month?
George, has SLAM approved this yet?
Yes. In fact, they've signed it. I think I sent that the other day.
I haven't seen the signed one yet. If you can get that over to me today, so I can get it in, sign it, and get it in later tomorrow.
I think I sent it yesterday, but it was a pretty big file, so I might have to reduce it and send it to you, Rusty. It was almost like 30 megabytes. So
just send the first.
Lost somewhere.
Just send the first page.
Oh, okay.
Well, we have to send the whole thing over to Jennifer Chernuski, the finance director, at some point. So she has to break it all out.
Yeah, I could send Rusty the first page, and then maybe I'll reduce it and see if I can get it down to a manageable file. But that's probably what happened. It's probably somewhere in the cyberspace.
Are there any other questions regarding the payment application? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the payment application number 32 as presented to this meeting in the amount of $1,256,322.69. Is there a second?
Second.
Rusty will second. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments regarding this particular motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Let's go to the progress report then, George. We'll follow up on this. I got it, Barcy.
Okay, so for the month of August, we did, turn over the assembly wing, the, substantial completion dates, August 25th. And actually that's for like the interior. I don't think we have established, for the parking lot and the exterior yet, substantial completion. I do believe Allie's coming out, punch list and all that on Monday next week, the 18th. Then the percent completes. It's pretty much just the retainages, and then the baseline budgets and the construction costs. I mean, we're looking for our contingency about $789,000, which obviously is pretty healthy. But I'm going through right now, and reconciling all the trades and all the things that's been done in the last couple months. So I'm doing that exercise right now.
And that's part of the closeout process?
Yeah, that's part of the closeout process. Yep. And then, that's just the backup. And then, you know, as I'm saying, it's part of the closeout process. So I've been put together a lot of the PCOs. Obviously, we haven't had any real proposal requests, RFIs or ASIs for that month. There's been 6 PCOs approved. You know, currently 2 that are processing, and I think I've sent a few more out just the other day to SLAM. No schedule revisions. Procurement. The only item that's not on site where, you know, has been delayed with delivery is the acoustical doors in the music area. You know, we provided temporary doors. There's 2 in the music, and then there's 2 up by the ELP speech rooms. So those are due actually the end of this month, I believe. Other than that, everything is delivered and installed. Then, as I touched on before, as far as work goes, site work, they've completed all the sidewalks, parking lot, guardrail, line striping, signage. There is some fencing, mostly just gates that remain. The guardrails, other than some general cleanup, is complete. And then the punch list, landscaping, just some punch list work. Masonry, again, a couple punch list items. Structural steel is complete. Miscellaneous metals, work's complete. General trades, they actually, we have some interior signage that's been added. One, the boys' bathroom signs, those are in order. We haven't received those yet. And then during the walkthrough, Bob Bush requested some more signs in the corridor area, so we've ordered those, and we should be delivered in the next 2 weeks, I think.
George, do you know if the grammar is correct on boys and girls? Right now it says apostrophe S, and it needs to read S apostrophe. Is that what the new ones say?
Yeah, that's what the new ones say.
Great,
they
thanks.
have the S apostrophe. Yep. And then the gym floor has actually been completed. Architectural work, that work is completed. Fire stopping is completed. Roofing. We just have punch list items, and actually the metal downspouts they're being actually installed today. They're out here. Spray fireproofing's been completed. Aluminum entrance, they've been completed. Acoustical and drywall. Well, acoustical's completed. Drywall has a couple punch list items left. Flooring, that's completed. Just a couple punch list items. Painting, just working on the punch list. Same with the food service equipment. Window treated, they're completed. Fire suppression's completed. Plumbing, HVAC, they're kind of working on the punch list. The punch list is for the most part completed, but for HVAC, plumbing, we get with the commissioning, that's still remains. So we got the rooftop unit 2 for the gym to commission. We got the kitchen exhaust fan and the dishwasher exhaust fan to commission, and the lighting controls. So those are all scheduled. We met with actually a commissioning agent yesterday, and Ferguson. Ferguson has all the paperwork they needed in now. Balance and report, the startup, pre-commissioning startup, and they've scheduled the commissioning and wrapping up the end of this month. So the week of September 25th, I think it's the 26th, 27th, and 28th, they're going to be finishing the commissioning, and that work is all done, either on the roof or down here in the basement with the controls.
George, can I just interrupt? Did you say that all the commissioning that is required to be done will be done by the end of October?
Yes, definitely. It'll be done by the end of this month.
By the end of September?
Right. Yeah, the 26th it's scheduled, 26th, 27th, and 28th.
I'm talking about all different units, everything, not just electrical or whatever needs to be commissioned.
Right. Yeah, no, that would be it. There's like I said, there's the rooftop unit 2. I'm going to say DO, the direct outside air unit 6, which is part of the gym. There's the kitchen exhaust fan, the dishwasher exhaust fan, and the lighting controls. That's what remains to be commissioned. And they have it scheduled for September 26th, 27th, and 28th.
All right, so everything will be done by the end of September. All the commissioning.
Yes. No.
Thank you. Okay.
Communications is just some punch list items, which I think they've pretty much wrapped up. So the goal is, right now the different trades are coming in either in the morning or the afternoon. I'm working on their punch list. Then we have the 25th where the school is out. So a lot of some of that work where we don't have real access, we'll finish up on the 25th when the school's out. We got to get into like classrooms and stuff.
Okay.
Punch list. And this was actually as of the end of August, so we haven't really updated it in the last couple of weeks. But we had 102 open items, 134 rate inspected, dispute 2. On the commissioning, there's 41 open items, and that was like the end of August. Right now, there's like 28 open items, and most of that is related to rooftop unit 2, which all has been addressed, and then just confirming all of that when they do the final commission of rooftop unit 2. 61 closed. And these are just a list of the PCOs, schedules, obviously pretty simple, and then some pictures. That's the entrance in the cafeteria. It's the media center. That's the main entrance with the sign. The cafeteria. There's another shot of the cafeteria. That's the entrance to the gym and the north entrance. That's the gym itself. Shot of the playground. And that's another picture of that north elevation. Gym again. Another one of the playground. And then that's the kitchen. I don't know if there's any questions.
George, can you send us an update in the next week or two of the trade allowances chart that we put together?
Yes.
And the premium time chart, so we know where that stands?
Well, I must say it's an impressive assembly win. But I'd like to go to the next discussion, which is really about what our current operating issues, including commissioning issues, expected.
Sorry, I just had one question, if I could, before we switch topics. I just wanted to ask about some of the landscaping. I know that we had talked about some of the fencing that was hiding some of the mechanicals that are on site, and I was there yesterday, and there are a few trees planted, but they're rather sparse, and particularly with the mechanical at the very entrance of the parking lot. I was curious if there had been any more discussions about filling those in, potentially doing some vines on the fencing to better screen some areas.
Actually, Katie, you picked up on something I was going to talk about because I don't think our landscaping is really done. Looking at the original plan, I don't see where the old playground was used last year. It's all been beaten up sod. I know we've got to rototill that all up because it's all dead and put in meadow mix. But there's also trees and shrubs that are supposed to be planted in that area. And I would agree with you that when you drive into the driveway, the first thing that you see is the propane tank gate or enclosure. And while it has boulders all around it to meet the fire marshal's requirements, I think it needs some landscaping as well. So I'm in agreement with you if you're saying I don't think it's done yet. I would agree.
Yes, exactly. Great.
And we probably ought to have a discussion with either Slam or whoever or Alyssa at Slam about what additional amounts we want to put in there.
Thank you.
Okay. But as to other than the landscaping, as to the actual winding up or close down, we'll call it, I just wanted to give a sort of a general impression, which I got after discussing this with David Cravenzola yesterday. And George has started the process where you go to each of the subcontractors and you get them to sign certain documents attesting that they have no more liens or they don't have any liens outstanding against the project. And also the amounts, they've invoiced everything, or if they haven't, they're going to have to put the invoices in now, which we've been begging for them to do. Rusty started on that some months ago. And also they have to provide us with their warranties where appropriate. And if there's training to be done, they have to have scheduled training or have done it already. And they also have to present their final invoices. I mentioned that earlier, and any adjustments. And so this process is subcontractor by subcontractor, and it takes a time, and that's why we're still going to be doing some of this stuff before we pay them back the retention that we've held. I forgot, George, how much we retained in total, but it's not an insubstantial amount of money. And you would think that
800,000. Well, total for all the trades and us is like 2 million.
2,000,007, yeah. So
2,000,007.
It'll come in sporadically, I gather, George. Some guys are, the kitchen equipment people are already submitting their stuff. They seem to be on top of everything, but a lot of other players are not. But I wanted to give everybody just sort of a picture that it's a process that will dribble and dribble and dribble, and hopefully will be all done by the end of the year. There isn't many issues outstanding. I mean, Katie mentioned one, which is the need for additional landscaping. And then we'll be talking about another one just momentarily, which is the slide. But other than that, it's kind of finishing up all of the crossing T's, dotting I's, getting invoices in, and making sure that warranties are in our hands.
Can I just mention two things? George has been very helpful in terms of keeping me up to date on the air conditioning situation. So thanks for that, George. I know we have some parts that we're waiting for, which is why the 5th grade is not being cooled adequately. Also, yesterday with the torrential rain during moments, there's a spout in the courtyard that has a chain running down it. George, I think you know what I'm talking about.
I know
and it's a pretty water feature, but apparently it got backed up yesterday and started spewing out water, which caused some flooding in the ELP common room. I mean, Dennis is on top of it. I didn't want the floors to be damaged, so he, of course, got on top of it right away. I'm just wondering who would check that out. Is that plumbers that check that out, or is that part of somebody related to the building committee?
Well, that's us. that'll be O&G and AP will check it out. So we got actually the curtain wall, the window guy coming tomorrow to look at it because it might be coming underneath the saddle just to make sure that he has that caulked and everything. And then, we're kind of looking, maybe doing something with that rain chain pipe, some type of overflow or something. Because what happens is because the rain chain, the hole at the end of that pipe in the rain chain is, relatively small. And when you get a large volume of water, it can't drain fast enough. So we're thinking of maybe doing some sort of overflow or something like that in there.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah, we're going to check that out.
We could add a gargoyle.
Yeah, like a cow's tongue or a gargoyle. I mean, there's just because it comes off the roof and there's a tremendous, when you get that kind of rain, it's just a large volume I think that pipe's only, say maybe 6 inches. So, and then the hole for the chain itself isn't that large. So it just backs up really quick when you get that kind of water.
Melissa, if you have any of these issues, just bring them up to George. Don't wait to come to the building committee. I mean.
Oh, no. Thanks, Kip. Yeah. I won't. This happened yesterday afternoon, which is the reason why I brought it up.
Understood.
What's nice is George is here, and when any, small things come up, I do tend to hunt Dennis and George down. So thanks, Kip.
Don't let George out of the basement. That's the secret here.
Once he's gone, he's gone. Doors are right.
Okay. Yeah, George is going to be at Oxbridge for the rest of the year, and you never know. Next year too, George, you could be our special visitor.
Well, I have a place in Henley, so when I go out of there, that's where I'll be. I'll be at Henley.
Okay, I have figured out how to get to Italy, so.
Okay.
The only other thing that has been ongoing, and we talked about this at our last meeting, are just the speakers and the alarms, fire drills, etc. But I believe Kevin is continuing to look into that.
Okay. Was this the question about having alarms that would be heard down in the playground area, the lower playground?
Exactly. I'm not too concerned about safety because we do have walkie-talkies out there. But just in case someone forgot something, I'd like them to know that there's a, fire alarm going off or a lockdown. But Kevin and I have talked about that. So I think it more has to do with our neighbors. And Kip, I received a lovely email from one of our neighbors and I responded to it. And we're looking at some solutions for traffic and lighting in the building during the evening hours.
Yeah, well, that was out of talking with Francisco. He talked about there were 2 lights that were on, one in the common area of the ELP room. He said it was on all night. I don't know if that's true or not. Another one was over by that intersection between the ELP and the second grade. So
Dennis and I met yesterday and talked about how they've reorganized their entire cleaning routine based on the neighbors' concerns. So they're cleaning rooms in certain areas of the building first that would abut the neighbors and turning those lights off. The hallways should automatically go off the lights. So I think we've mitigated the lighting situation. My only concern is I want lights to be on for our custodial crew when they leave because it's pitch black out here. And so that's something that I think that the neighbors are going to have to compromise with. That's
fine. It's an operational issue to me. It's not a building committee issue.
Totally agree.
So
thanks.
It's in your court and you decide and tell them accordingly.
Thanks.
Okay. One of the open issues that we have is item number 5 on our agenda, which is the embankment slide. I'll give a little background on this. I know Kemp is here to talk about it as well. But I think originally a lot of us thought that the embankment slide would be kind of a thing that would be like what you see in one of these mountain slides. It would be built into the land. It would just go down the whole length. And, if a child wanted to fall off the slide, it would just roll onto the grass, whatever. Well, we didn't look closely. We didn't pay attention to what was the actual slide design, which is a relatively short slide, steep drop. And as a result, what was put in was initially just, it intuitively was not safe in terms of the drop off. The land in question was originally a relatively modest slope, but it was made aggressively steep there to accommodate the slide, which I don't think we paid attention to. And all of a sudden we have this very steep slope, and obviously not acceptable in terms of safety. So the whole project was put back, and Lisa at SLAM came up with a new design in terms of not changing the drop off of the slide as much as changing the fencing around the area and putting certain, if you will, boulders or stonework to make the slide closer to the contour of the land. Whether this works or not, I imagine from a safety point of view, it might be okay. But I think that a lot of us still have a queasy feeling about this whole process. And I think Melissa certainly has a voice in this matter because of prior experience with playground issues. So I'm going to turn it over either to Kemp to talk about what the revision here, which is shown on the screen, that is worked up by Alyssa, or whether Melissa wants to talk about it. I'm open. So have at it, guys.
Okay, thanks, Kip. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, everybody. I haven't seen this drawing in particular, Kip. If you could maybe zoom in on the plan up on the upper portion.
Yeah, this is the one
like a working one, right?
Yeah, this came in on August 21st from Alyssa.
So the PR is very, very similar, right, if not the same as this here. It just with the color and everything, it's a lot easier to.
Yeah, it's easier to see with the color. So I'm looking at the black and white version. So this is better. So what the plan is to resolve the safety issues with the fall from the platform, the slide entry platform, is to put a retaining wall underneath the slide, which is that curved element there. That would then allow us to fill in up to that retaining wall and basically create a level surface on all three sides of that slide entry platform. And then we would also include a 4-foot high chain link fence from the two taller posts on the slide where you're entering the slide, and then to either side, all the way to the stairs on the bottom of the page, and then all the way down the ramp on the top of the page, so that kids can't fall off the height of in front of the retaining wall, and then also keep them off that slope as they go down the ramped walk, or the sloped walk. And I think that will resolve the issue. And then there's also adding some shrubbery and some ground cover on either side of the slide to kind of keep students away from the sides of the slide and to help fill that volume underneath the slide.
So those were the changes made to provide, if you will, a safer environment from what was originally. There was no real fencing around the top there, so people could fall off fairly easily. But the real question is, and I'm going to ask Melissa to comment on this, is this now something that you as the principal are comfortable with in terms of operations day by day?
Thanks for asking, Kip. I'm going to be honest, I don't know until I actually see it done. I think that it's helpful. It will definitely make it safer. I was not comfortable with looking at it and thinking of young children going down the steepness of the slide. I think it might have been due to a visual in terms of looking at the left and right side of the slide and seeing the ground below it and the steepness. So if that is built up, a retaining wall is put in and a chain link fence at the top with shrubbery, I think that will certainly help, Kip. And Kemp, I appreciate you and Ally providing us with some additional safety measures to ease my concern. I think too, the bottom in terms of the landing, I love. I'm sure that was very expensive. It's the landing that's provided in the rest of the playground. It's soft and cushiony, I assume. I haven't stepped on it yet. So that makes me feel better. My biggest concern was just the slope. And so I think Scott might have gone down it with a hard hat. I haven't gone down it yet. Urban legend that I have, but I have not yet. So I would like to experience it myself just to see how fast it is. I'm not sure, and I don't know about going back in time, but I don't think that was what the PTO had thought was going to be going in. I think it was, as you described, Kip, much more gradual and longer than what we ended up receiving and having put in.
Katie, what are your comments on this?
Thank you. I have a lot of comments. First, I appreciate Melissa bringing up the PTO's impression, and I think it's incredibly important to remind everyone that this was intended to be a gift from them. Initially, this slide was cut in budget deliberations, and the PTO very generously offered to cover the cost of it. I think it's also worth saying that, as Kip alluded to, I think a lot of things went wrong in this project. I unfortunately learned of this very recently from a PTO member, and just being on the site, you can see that a lot of things to put this slide in that were never part of the plan. So I'm incredibly disappointed with it. I don't think that it is at all what anyone is expecting. I haven't heard any feedback that any children are excited about it, even though this has been a topic of conversation for multiple years across the town. And unfortunately, I don't like this solution. I think that it's spending a lot of money and making what's already a disappointing piece, and that sort of doesn't make sense. It looks like a normal side is just stuck into a hill. It's making it worse. I was just commenting earlier about the landscaping and the need to screen chain link fencing. I don't even know how many feet of more chain link fencing this was providing. I would really like to explore the option of taking this site out entirely, as opposed to spending more money to create something that is just going to mitigate problems and is not going to provide at all what the original intention was, and none of the excitement.
I'm sorry, Danielle, is it Vanessa, did you want to say something?
I have a few things to say as well. I'm here on behalf of the Ox PTO. We've been waiting because we did offer to pay for this. Katie came to, my understanding is the history, Katie came to the board and said, listen, this has been cut. We think it'd be great. And so in January 2021, based on the presentation we were given, that this slide was going to go from the top and follow basically the stairs to the bottom. We thought that was a really great idea. We agreed to pay for it. We had no idea this even went in. We were asking questions about, when do you need the check for it? What's the process? And Melissa was like, oh, it's in, it's here. And this is not what we paid for or agreed to pay for. And to be honest, I actually have a background as a litigator. I've dealt with playground injury cases representing schools. There's nothing about this design that makes me feel comfortable. Adding these retaining wall, all I see is opportunities for kids to try and climb, jump, fall. The chain link fence, same thing. You're asking kids to wait in line at the top of the slide and climb the fence. But also, to echo Katie's point, the kids are not happy about it. I said that I had a meeting. I went to the Board of Ed meeting the other night, and I said I was going to go talk about the slide. I didn't need to, but my son's first thing was, oh, the lame slide. They're not happy. Half of them don't even care about it, don't want to go on it. The other half are afraid of it because it looks like it's going to shoot you off the end or you're going to fall off the side of it. It's very shallow. It doesn't look like there's a very good opportunity the way it looks that a kid could easily just fall off the side, not let alone at the bottom. I just, as this design stands, the PTO is not paying for any of it. And we would right now, we'd rather have no slide. This seems like we've just created more ways for injury. And it doesn't address the original point of the slide, which was to give the kids another way to get from the top of this somewhat steep hill to the bottom, because right now the only option is a lot of stairs.
I do want to just comment on Katie and Vanessa, and thank you both for speaking, because I know this is probably uncomfortable when you have an expectation for something and it doesn't come to fruition. I do believe that the mitigating design will help. I mentioned that I can't be completely confident with that until it's completed and I've gone down the slide myself. But I will say that I think right now, considering the other wonderful opportunities for kids to play on the rest of the playground, I don't think they're very concerned with the slide right now. I don't know how it was hyped to them the end of last year, but right now it's kind of a non-issue with kids. And as the principal, Kip, you know where I stand, safety first. And I think that we need to take our time to make sure that whatever we originally planned can possibly be the new solution, as opposed to adding other additional things. Again, I don't know if that's possible, but I agree with Katie and Vanessa. If we could explore that, getting the original slide that was decided upon, that would be, I think, the best option.
I'm sorry, I just do want to say my mind has been consumed slide, and Melissa said the kids don't seem to be very bothered, because thank you very much. They think the playground in itself is awesome. They are so excited about it, and I've just been focused on the slide, but everything else about this building and the playground has been amazing. So I do want to say thank you. I appreciate how fast this project had to move. And some of the summer was crazy with some changeovers with Luke being gone and whatnot. So some things may have gotten lost in just in the movement of it, but everything else is just unbelievable. So this one small issue is just a small slide issue.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Vanessa, for saying that.
The fact that we have a steep slope here was created on purpose, which I think is that's where we're totally amazed by that. I don't know why we ever did that, because none of us ever focused on the fact that they had a short slide that went down very steeply. If we had kept the terrain the way it really originally was, it was a much more gentle slope. And I just find that this having carved out all this to create whether it's 12-foot drop, it makes no sense whatsoever. That's where the safety starts, right there. And if you don't like the slide, I'm 100% with you. Take it out, but put the earth back in to give us a gentle slope all the way around, so we don't have to have it worrying about everybody falling down this hill. They're going to roll down the hill anyway if they get a chance. Kids like to do that, but rolling down a gentle hill is different than falling down a 12-foot drop here. And I know that I've talked with Duke about this, and I've talked with Rusty about it, and we're both sort of shaking our heads. We were not paying attention to this, folks. We did not pay attention to the actual design. We thought original idea, we thought it was a mountain type slide, gradually going down. I went out and saw this thing, and I said, wait a minute, where did that steep slope come from? Well, it was made, and there's no reason for it, in my opinion. Go back to a gentle slope.
I agree 100% with this, and I think everybody is going in the same direction, and we may be ready for a vote on this.
We have 6 out of our 9 members. I'd like to make sure that I got Duke and Sean and Nick Rongo's point of view on this as well, or at least their vote on it, if you will. I mean, if you want to make a motion, we'll leave it up in the air. I would think that to make sure that everybody gets a chance from the committee to put their 2 points in.
I just want to give Dr. Adley the chance to speak if he has any thoughts on this.
Yes, turn my mic on. Yes, Vanessa, thank you for your comments and so on, and I certainly respect your profession. We certainly wouldn't put anything in any other recommendations we made to that smaller slide there. We certainly wouldn't put things in that weren't safe, and we would be certainly working with the company to make sure that it was safe, and that's what we understand that the improvements would do. That being said, it's not what we originally said we were going to do. It definitely isn't. So there's no two ways about that. It's not the expectation that everybody had. If it's not on the table to put in, like if the question is take the whole thing out, well, if that's a preference over actually putting something in that was more resembling what we were going to do, I don't know if that discussion is on the table. I thought potentially Jeff was working to bring back another solution that would be more resemblance of what we would put in. I'd certainly like to see that option if that was the case. But if the case is now that if that's on the table, that's fine too. If it's not, then it's a case of just taking the whole thing out because it's not what was recommended. I'd like to see a slide for the kids in some capacity, but if that's the proverbial wisdom, then that's probably what we should do. But I thought on the table was potentially I thought Jeff was going to go back to Elisa and ask her to draw up something that more resembled what the original rendition, but is that not the case?
Well, Kemp, is Jeff going to be looking at it, or is Alyssa going to be looking at a long slide like the original idea?
To my knowledge, not. I don't think I haven't heard that, Kip. So, but let me just add a few comments here. I'm disappointed to understand that people are disappointed with the slide. I do think there are certainly safety concerns with the way it stands today, and I think that the proposal to put in the retaining wall and level out the area at the entrance and add the chain link fence will resolve those upper level safety issues. The reason that the slide is what it is because that is what the company that we were working with as a basis of design for playground equipment had as a standard product for an embankment slide. Had we gone down the path of creating a custom slide to follow the actual slope of the earth, first of all, I'm not sure it would have enough pitch to keep kids moving on it to get them to actually go down the slide. But also it would have been prohibitively expensive because it would have been a complete custom installation if they could even do it at all, which I'm not sure if that's the case. So, and as part of the design process, we did illustrate this particular slide in the presentation. I think there was a disconnect between an artist rendition of an embankment slide and on the same presentation slide when we made it, we had a picture of this actual slide, but there was a disconnect between the two graphics. So I apologize for any miscommunication on that. But I will look into whether or not we can do a custom slide for the lower sloped embankment. But I think we did look into that during design, and we found that it was not available.
Well, as you know,
one last point from a safety perspective, the playground equipment company will certify this slide once the improvements have been made at the top.
It seems to me that the slide is very similar to the slide. They have 2 or 3 slides in the playground itself. I'm not sure why it would be of attractive additional slide is necessary, but the original idea was different, and we didn't pay attention or whatever. Go back and I can show a number of different renditions, including the design development presentation in December 10th of 2020, and where we saw on one side of the color sheet a long slide that went all the way down from top to bottom, and then on the other side of the same sheet was the actual design of this type of thing, which I don't think anybody really looked at, because we looked at the long slide and thought, well, that's what we're talking about. So I'd like to rather than make a motion right now, Rusty, I'd like to confer with the other members that are not present and get a consensus. I'll ask everybody on the committee to throw in their 2 cents. But I'm not interested in doing is putting new tires on a Yugo and calling it a better car.
If I may, just to Dr. Adley's comment, we are absolutely in support of going back to the drawing board. If something could be designed to what we wanted it or it misunderstood it to be, then we would love that. But as this particular slide is, we would rather see nothing. But obviously, at the end of the day, we would love to see what we had hoped it would be.
Yeah, I would be in support. This is Diane Boston. I would be in support of taking a short period of time to look again at an option of realizing something more like our original vision before we scrap the whole thing. I think it's worth that exercise. I think there are enough people. That would be my opinion.
Okay, well, I will confer with SLAM about looking at an alternative approach that was more like what was originally visioned, and hopefully just doing a first sketch to see that is this what we're talking about, so to make everybody, including the PTO, clear is this what we're talking about. And then if it cost is prohibitive, then the building committee can then decide whether they want to go forward with it. Okay?
Thank you.
That makes sense?
That's good to me.
So that's what we shall do. Okay. Our next item of business is changing the authorization levels on the construction oversight subcommittee. As you know, we put in certain approval levels that we had originally. I'll also put in Melissa as a ex officio member, replacing Luke Forshaw. But I wanted to increase the levels of authorization only because we're getting a lot of these onesies and twosies, and I think you have confidence that we've not spent money recklessly, or we've been careful in approving these things. But rather than having these meetings once a month going through, a $50,000 or a $60,000 or $110,000 approval, I wanted to increase the limits of authorization so that we could move forward on this stuff. I've got one here for $153,000 for furniture that was delivered from, I guess it was Lord. It's all been approved. It's in place, and it was approved by Christine Hopkins, who's been monitoring all this. This is an example of things that come through, and I'd like your approval of revising the limits on the construction oversight subcommittee's approval levels. Does anybody have any questions about this or discussion?
Just one quick comment. It's important that we process these bills over the next couple of months quickly to keep the subcontractors focused and interested in completing the project. And this will help with that immensely.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have to have a building committee meeting each month here, but to the extent that we do, that's okay. But to the extent that we do not need it, we can approve a number of these closeout amounts, which are basically paying back to subcontractor the retention that we've held going forward. So unless anybody has an objection, I'd like to propose that this motion be adopted. Would anybody like to make the motion? Diane? Okay, thank you. Is there a second to approve this motion? Katie? Okay. Is there any further discussion about what we're asking the committee to approve? Are there any objections? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. It's been passed. The approval levels have been passed. Dr. Adley, do we have a ribbon cutting ceremony date yet?
Oh, yes, thank you. I did have to circle back because we had a few key members who could not attend the September date. So before sending something out, I've confirmed with
Dr. Adley.
those people that they can make the new date, which is October 7th. If there's anybody here that can't make it, it'd be nice if I knew that.
October 7th?
Yes, October 7th at 10 a.m. But if the rest of the main players can be there, it seems like the ones that could not be can be now. So I need a nucleus of people, and I think we have that at this point, provided we have representation from the committee.
I think the committee can make it.
Good.
All right, so it's October 7th at 10 a.m.
That's correct. Yep.
Very good. Is there anything else to be discussed concerning this project this morning? Katie?
Thank you. Just a couple of quick points. I just wanted to say that, well, actually just one. We covered the others. Last night, SLAM sent Chris, the photographer, and Tara over to the school to photograph the completed assembly wing. And I just wanted to say thank you to Vanessa and to her co-chair, Kate, for helping to organize student volunteers for the photos. This is one of those times where it's really lovely to celebrate and to acknowledge all the work that's been put in. And SLAM has been really wonderful at saying what a pleasure it is to work with Darien as a community in terms of the ease of willingness and volunteer for everyone to step in. So we had some really cute and fun photos, and I look forward to getting them from Tara and sharing them with everyone.
Okay.
One quick thing going
Does
back.
anybody else have anything to bring up?
One quick thing about the ribbon cutting ceremony. Melissa, I've reached out to you a couple of times. I need to talk to you about the cornerstone and the time capsule.
Yeah, Kevin, I think, brought in, maybe it was George. George brought in the box for the time capsule. I understand it's supposed to go within the brick at the front of the
Right.
school. I wanted to work with the PTO and you, Rusty, to figure out, it's a relatively small box, so to figure out what we want to put inside of it that is representative of Ox Ridge at this time in history. So maybe I have a meeting with the PTO co-chairs tomorrow. Should we generate some ideas, Rusty, and then shall I meet with you?
Sure. We did this, and it was a lot of fun for the kids and the teachers, actually, when we did the middle school one.
Great.
So, have your meeting and give me a call. I've got some thoughts on it, and
Great.
I will integrate it with a grand opening.
Thanks, Rusty.
Any thoughts or ideas you do have would be great, because we're starting with nothing, looking at the size of the box. We would love some creative ideas.
That box is the largest we could do.
Anything is wonderful. It's a great idea. We just need to come up with something creative to put in it.
Correct.
Kip, I just wanted to add, and just wanted to thank Katie and the PTO for working with us to be able to populate the photos with the students. I think it makes this photos so much better when there are students enjoying the space within the photos. So thank you, Katie, for all of your coordination effort.
Okay. Good work. Anything else? There's no public comment. I'm prepared for a motion to adjourn. I would like to make that motion. That would be coming from Diane. Second, I'm going to say from Katie. And we'll all say all in favor, say aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.